Good morning, everyone. Hope you're keeping well. I know it's dark and dreary outside, but I hope that you are doing okay. And again, just to remind you, if you need anything or if you need to reach out to anyone, please don't hesitate to do that. We are there for you and we'd love to hear from you. Just as well to say, obviously, Sunday morning service, hopefully live on Sunday morning at 11 o'clock. And we'll be looking actually there at the passage we're going to be looking at both today and tomorrow as well in our morning devotions. So let me read to you from that passage. You're going to read the first half of it, Mark chapter 5 and verses 21 to 34. When Jesus had crossed again in the boat to the other side, a great crowd gathered about him, and he was beside the sea. Then came one of the rulers of the synagogue, Jairus by name, and seeing him, he fell at his feet and implored him earnestly, saying, "My little daughter is at the point of death. Come, lay your hands on her, so that she may be made well and live." And he went with him. And a great crowd followed him and thronged about him, and there was a woman who had had a discharge of blood for 12 years, and who had suffered much under many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was no better, but rather grew worse. She had heard the reports about Jesus, and came up behind him in the crowd, and touched his garment, for she said, "If I touch even his garments, I will be made well." And immediately the flow of blood dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease. And Jesus, perceiving in himself that power had gone out from him, immediately turned about in the crowd, and said, "Who touched my garments?" His disciples said to him, "You see the crowd pressing around you, and yet you say, 'Who touched me?'" And he looked around to see who had done it. But the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came in fear and trembling, and fell down before him and told him the whole truth. And he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease." We're just going to focus on the woman this morning in this story and think about her and her approach to Jesus. In 2001, 20 years ago now, it seems hard to believe, Paula and I went on a holiday to New England. And our first stop was Boston, and we spent a few days in Boston and went out to visit Harvard, the university. And when we were there, there's a statue in Harvard Yard of the founder of the university, John Harvard. And there is a tradition or whatever that people go up and they rub the toe of his left boot. And so you can see that over the years, so many people have done this, that the toe of his left boot is a different colour from the rest of the statue. And the idea of touching the left boot of John Harvard is that it either brings you good luck or it assures that you will return to Boston someday or something like that. It's a superstition, basically. And we see superstitions all over the place. We see them in sport. Certain sportsmen have their superstitions about what they do before they come out on the field of play. And this is just part of people's lives, whether they actually believe it or not, or whether if you took it away from them, it would cause them some sort of crisis. Who knows? But superstition is all around us. It's out there. This is a woman in this passage who is utterly desperate. Utterly desperate. For 12 years, she has been suffering from this awful condition. It has made her unclean, ritually unclean. She hasn't been able to come to worship. It has made her obviously very self-conscious, and it has caused her a lot of pain. The treatment that she has undergone from various physicians has only served to make the condition worse rather than better. And she's spent all the money she has. She's broke. She has nowhere else to go. Jesus is her last hope. She's heard about him, heard of the things that he's done, but she wants to remain anonymous in the crowd for obvious reasons. She shouldn't even be there. She shouldn't be in polite society, so to speak. And her faith is very heavily mixed with superstition. In fact, there's probably a small seed of faith in the midst of a whole lot of superstition as she comes to sneak her way through the crowd to try and just touch the edge of Jesus' clothing. There is nothing special about Jesus' clothing. Nothing special at all. That would have been made exactly the same way as the clothing of all the other people around him. There was nothing about those clothes that were special. But she had convinced herself if she just touches the edge of the robe, she'll be healed. Like touching a relic or touching the statue of John Harvard in Harvard Square. If I do this, I'll be healed, I'll be made better. And amazingly, she is healed. A tiny amount of faith, even mixed with a huge dollop of superstition, is enough to heal her. It's enough to restore her physically. But that's not enough for Jesus. Jesus isn't interested in being treated as some kind of a relic, some kind of a slot machine where you do a certain act and the result comes out that you want. That's not enough for Jesus. He wants her to have more than that, more than just restoration to physical health. He wants her to have an encounter with him, face to face, not anonymous any longer. He wants her to stand up in the crowd in order to receive his grace and his mercy in front of them all. He wants to be able to declare to her that her days of anonymity, her days of keeping out of society, her days of keeping away from people are over. And he wants her to know that he is interested in her, that she has a relationship with him. And that's what he wants for all of us too. He wants encounter. He wants relationship. So many of us are coming to him because of what he can do for us, because of the things we can get from him. So many people treat God or treat Jesus as some kind of divine slot machine where you put something in and you get out the expected result. You use him for your own purposes. But that's not what he wants. He wants an encounter with us. He wants a relationship with us. He wants to transform our lives and to make us more like himself. That's what he will do for you. That's what he'll do for me. As we encounter him day by day, as we let him into our lives, as we allow him to change us, he will do that. So don't undersell your relationship with Jesus. It's what he wants for you. It's the encounter he needs you to have. Go on growing in that relationship, allowing him day by day to change you and make you more like him. God bless.